Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our Energies and Opportunities call.
Here we are once again with our monthly broadcast, Energies and Opportunities. We're going to be looking at the upcoming month of February, broadcasting today on January 27th. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy that you're here. So for those of you who don't know us or not familiar with us, I'm Carol Eastwood.
And I'm Chetan Parkin.
And we're here with evolutionaryhumandesign.com. This is our place for you to come and be exposed to the power of human design, not just as an informational system, but as an evolutionary process. So in our 60-minute broadcast, we're going to be giving you an overview, as we do every month, looking through the astrological energies and also looking through the human design energies of the entire month coming up. We do that to give you a bit of a sense of how the energies are moving, where the opportunity cycles are, where some of the maybe challenges are, and how to work with both the challenges and the opportunity cycles so that you get the most from working with the energies of the universe. And to that end, we also produce trainings in human design, trainings as advanced practitioners in human design. We have a training called Business Success by Design, and that is our current promotion. So for those of you, we only promote this once a year, and we only produce it once a year. So if you would like to find out more about it, we have a tab for you to go to on our website. It's basically an in-depth, small group training in which we've got 8 in-depth modules, so informational modules, along with workbook, and then 8 also, in addition, 8 live practicums that are led by Chetan and myself, so that you can come in person, bring your charts, bring your material you're working with, and have us support you to get really clear about the business model that's right for you, the way that you're designed to make money in this world, and how you can do it in a way that's most satisfying and fulfilling for you. The audience or the people who you're going to be able to reach and touch the most, the essence of what it is you bring. Is there anything else you would add to that?
Well, I'd just say, focus is it's a small group, so you get a lot of personal attention from us in really guiding you not only to recognize your own gifts and abilities, but to see how to work them into what it is that you produce and put out into the world. So
yes,
there's nothing quite like it, in my experience. And our past clients who've had this experience in our business success program, they've all said it's completely changed their whole view and their success ratio and how their business turns out for them.
so you get your particular way of marketing yourself, positioning yourself, your way of presenting yourself as a business, and the way that you conduct your business. And this is tailored directly to you. And could be a business or it could be a private practice. If you're doing readings or you're doing healing for people, you're doing coaching for people, that's where it applies. So if you'd like to find out more about it, you can go to our website, go to the trainings tab at the top. It's the 3rd tab over at the top of the website, evolutionaryhumandesign.com. And then once you find the trainings tab, just go down to the 4th tab down, business-success-by-design, business success by design, and you'll learn more about it. Also, if after reading about it, you're interested, but you need more information, you can always book a discovery session, have a personal conversation, find out more about how it might apply to your life and your business. Yeah. All right, so
worth it.
We're excited to be producing this again this year, and also excited to be sharing with you the upcoming energies for this phenomenal month of February. We're going to start where we are, pretty much here the last week of January, and then move from there. So, Chetan, I'm going to start myself. I'm going to start with the full moon that happened on January 25th. Is that?
A couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, probably we've all appreciated the fact that little Pluto way out there, the planet that relates to major transformations in the world, has now shuffled its way into the sign of Aquarius. And it's all changed. You may have noticed this last week or two. Quite a few things going on that are really not quite necessarily attached to what's been going on before, but don't let me get too carried away with this. Carola, why don't you tell us about the full moon?
Okay, so we had a full moon 2 days ago on January 25th. The moon at 5 degrees of Leo, opposite the sun at 5 degrees of Aquarius. And it's, anytime we have a full moon, what we have is the potential to bring whatever we've been working with or imagining or creating or moving towards come to some sort of full fruition, some sort of fulfillment. And this is the time of that fulfillment. The full moon in Leo is often about the fulfillment of creative ideas or creative expression. So what's interesting about this particular full moon is that it's in a right angle to the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So Jupiter in Taurus. So you may already be noticing, because this aspect has been building up for several days before now, that you've been extraordinarily busy. So we're all a bit stretched pretty thin right now. There's so much to accomplish, so many opportunities coming, so many new possibilities that it's just, we're we're in high motion. And that's going to continue certainly through the end of January, maybe the first few days of February. And then that will give us a bit of a break and calm down some. We are at a turning point. The planets Mercury, which has to do with communication, and Mars, which has to do with our business or our work in the world, coming to what we call a conjunction. So they're coming together right here at this full moon, January 25th. And as they do that, they're really, bring us to a turning point, a place where we're seeing what necessary changes need to be made, and we're seeing with clarity, the new ventures or the new approach or whatever healing has been completed and old patterns that we've let go of, so that we're ready to and prepared really to step into a new frequency, a new possibility, a higher possibility of expression in our work and in our way that we communicate with the world. The other great aspect that's happening at the same time, planet Venus in a beautiful triangle with Jupiter. So Venus is a planet of love and money flow and romance and beauty and art and just all the yummy things in life. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth. So when you have these two together, it's all possibilities for romance, for high creativity, for great money flow. And at the same time, we have a nice, really favorable linking with Saturn, which is bringing things a little bit more down to earth. So we're in a growth cycle that brings new opportunities. But with Saturn, we're perhaps a little more realistic than we normally would be. So Saturn brings that more of a realistic look, a practical look at, okay, but what this vision is all great, but what actually can be accomplished? So that's the overall energy at the full moon. The other thing I want to mention is that the planet Uranus, so those of you who've been following us for a while, Uranus is the planet of awakening, and it's awakening to higher consciousness. So it's the planet that gives us the opportunity to transcend beyond the third dimensional reality and into the fifth dimension, which is a causal plane in which thoughts become reality. So it's a level higher, you could say, than the third dimension, and one in which we have to be, or ideally we are, particularly conscious about the thoughts that we're generating and the communication that we're putting out there, because our thoughts and our words will become deeds or experiences faster than they do when we're just in the third dimensional reality. So this is Uranus awakening us to higher states of consciousness and showing us what's possible on the creation plane when we're really aligned in our values. And I say our values because Uranus currently in the sign of Taurus, which is the sign of values. It's also today, the 27th, turning direct. So it's been in retrograde motion, which is apparent backwards motion, for many months. It does this every year. It's not a new phenomena, but it's interesting that we have this turning point right now towards the end of January, where Uranus has been backtracking over old material that's introduced us to, and is now about to take us into brand new territory. So exciting times. We're going to have some breakthrough ideas, some inspirations, just high inspiration from spirit as we move on into, well, the end of January and into the first part of February. So that's my take on the beginning energies, astrological energies.
Very good. So we had the Human Design New Year just in these last days, and we equate that with the sun going into the gateway number 41. Or you might say, what's the difference between 41 and any other hexagram in the I Ching? And it's basically, when you align the I Ching with the human genetic code, the 41 is the start codon. It's the beginning of any genetic stream. So the 41 is this natural kind of energetic point in time where the sun goes in there and this light shines on. In the northern hemisphere, the middle of winter; in the southern hemisphere, the middle of summer, you might say. And it's just a very particular point in time where we can access the dream of what experiences we're going to live out. Are there any kind of fantasies in there, or can we actually set intention towards fulfilling the desires that we have within us? So this was the point in time. This was on the 22nd when the sun went in there. And within a couple of days from that, we had this full moon. And the full moon took place in gateway number 31. So here we are, the sun in the 41, the opposite side of the wheel, the 31. And so when the sun shines full on the moon and we get this full moon experience, it highlights the 31. It highlights this gateway called influence. So we can see, if we're going to have a dream about life, if we're going to kind of plot out and hold intention for what we'd like to live out as our experiences in the year ahead, it's a great time to be writing out a list. Never done this, always wanted to do that. Maybe this is the time. Maybe if it never happens, it's never going to happen, and I'll always be left with that regret about it. So great time to be still in this moment in time, making quite clear what it is that we intend to live out. I mean, maybe it won't happen, but the whole thing is just even putting it on a list and even putting it in our consciousness that this is something I'd really like to draw to me. And as Carola was saying, there's a lot of energy around this that can make these things happen for us. The 31, this voice of influence, right? The sun is going through the last of the throat gates in human design. And the 31, this voice of influence in the fourth line for this full moon, is called convincing. All influence is realized according to its openness and purity of intent. So we know when we're clear in an intention and it's not directed at interfering with somebody else's life or somebody else's situation, but it's just something that's a thread that's really a clear thread for us that we'd like to see fulfilled. That's where the moon was just shining in these last days. At this moment in time, we're in this life thing we call the alpha. And we say about the alpha, this is a time to make really clear directives of what we'd like to accomplish in our lives. So again, there's a lot of energy around that at the moment. In a couple of days, actually tomorrow, 28th, the sun goes into gateway number 19. 19 is one that's called approach. It's, what can I say? It's one of the four directional gates. We go into this life theme we call the four directions, where there's two outgoing gates and two ingoing gates. So it kind of opens up a season of exploring. The 19 approach is reaching out. And what happens with the 19th gateway is, amongst everything else, it has this ability to feel everybody else's needs. And at the same time, it has the ability to feel our own needs. So let's just be aware of that as the merry month of January comes to an end and we get into February, we start realizing, what is it that we really need in our life? We can be very clear about what we want. Oh, I want this, I want that, but what are our actual needs? How do we take care of all of that? And as I say, one of the aspects of this 19th gateway is it gets us started on a spiritual journey. And the spiritual journey is very much about questing for unity. We come out of unity, we come onto planet Earth, and there's a whole different game playing out here, this thing called duality. And so the 19 literally triggers us to say, what do I need? I need that reconnection. I need that pursuit of not just being in the physical here, not just being in that realm, but also reconnecting with my spirit. So that is one of the key things that happens at the end of this merry month of January. We enter into February and the life theme we call refinement. So having got the clue of what it is we need, we then start shaping the life around us to make sure we're on track for these things, right? All the time that this is all going on, the nodes of the moon, which we call the destiny path for humanity, the north node is in gateway number 51. The 51 is the gateway of shock. It's called the arousing. It's the big wake up. And it's conjoining with Chiron at the moment for a little bit longer. And Chiron is really this thing of, what can I say, joining body and spirit together, like aligning our physical presence here with our spiritual nature as well. And the thing of it is, I mean, we'll all know this, when we're aligned body and spirit together, nothing bothers us, nothing upsets us. It's everything is part of our life story. So there really is this great opportunity at the time to get over complaining or problems or victimhood or whatever it is, life's too unfair or whatever, and just seeing, a walk in the woods or hanging out with a cat or doing anything really simple, something really natural, and it brings us right back into that place of acceptance of what it is that's going on. I want to say one more thing before handing over to you.
Okay.
I had this really interesting talk with somebody in England in this last few days. And she is familiar with human design. She was remarking on the coming together of Mercury and Mars in the same part of the sky together, this conjoining of energies. And it just takes place in gateway number 54, the gateway of ambition, but it happens in the fourth line. And, I said, all right, well, Pluto's done his journey into Aquarius now, so it's all change. But one of the consequences of Mercury, our communication abilities and perhaps our travels and how we are seen in the world or how we are talked about in the world, what goes on, that buzz. And Mars, our actions, whether they're deliberate or not. The coming together in this gateway, the 54, the fourth line, basically means that anything can change. In the years when we had Kodak and photographs and we'd take a film with a camera and we'd send the film in to get the negative done, and then from the negative, then take a positive. So the negative was basically the opposite colors of the final printout. And that's the way I envisage the 54 with the fourth line. Everything could be absolutely clear as crystal. And then all of a sudden, everything inverts, the colors invert. Everything that looked so obvious now becomes anything but. And the whole thing for us is, in that circumstance, do we wobble? Do we lose it? Do we lose track on? Or are we suddenly acquainted with the idea that maybe what we considered so important actually is not? And so that is what I will just leave this little piece of my talk with today. It's like we're set on something and all of a sudden everything about it rearranges itself. What do we do with that?
Can we be fluid? Can we flow with it? Can we accept that and move with it instead of resist it or feel slighted by it or whatever?
Exactly that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I see that through the astrological energies
Come on then.
in a bit of a different way as well. Okay, so the next thing that I want to bring our attention to astrologically is the third quarter moon. So I was talking about the full moon on the 25th of January, and now we're up to the 2nd of February with the third quarter moon. So by the time we come to a third quarter moon, essentially we've had the new moon, which sets the new nascent possibility for the month. We've had the first quarter moon that then puts us into gear and into action in expressing that possibility. We've had already the full moon, which we had back on the 27th, in which we really see what we have created with it, or what we have done with it, and what we can further continue to create with it. We bring to fruition around the full moon. Now that we come to the third quarter moon, we're at this more critical turning point in which it's time for us to take the creation and whatever that creation has been over the past 3 weeks and bring it to some kind of conclusion, some sort of place of, it doesn't have to end, but some kind of place of usefulness or implementation. Okay, so it's no longer just in the idea stage or the planning stage or the beginning of the putting it out there stage. It's now in the stage of actually being something of value that we can continue to count on over time. So the third quarter moon, that kind of stabilizing energy, taking all the new creation and putting it into form. The third quarter moon in the sign of Scorpio, and it's in a really harmonizing aspect with the planet Venus, which is going to really ensure success of our current endeavors as long as they're inspired by love and truth. So as long as we have that awareness and we're moving into those higher frequencies of our being. You were talking about Chiron, and essentially what Chiron does is it links the higher self and the lower self. It provides a bridge between the higher self and the lower self so that the soul essence can be in communion and connection with the personality self. So, and Chiron really plays an important role in this part of the month because it's in some dynamic aspects, and especially with the planet Venus. So while we have this, general atmosphere of success and well-being with Venus, we also have a challenge from the planet Chiron. Venus moving into that challenge as we get further into the first week of February. And essentially what that's saying is that it's time for healing of any old heartbreaks. It's time for healing of any old misunderstandings about money, our use of money, how we attract money, how much money we have. Our whole sense of self-value is very much at the base of the attraction factor that we have to bring the money and the resource, not just money, but any resources to ourselves. So we're looking at how do we love ourselves? How do we attract money, love, connection, opportunities into our life?
What's the trick? What's the secret?
Well, and sometimes the secret is to heal old patterns, to let go of old beliefs, old ways of holding ourselves back or fearing or old stories that we heard from childhood that are just no longer, never have been true. So there's that. So there's a period of time where we may go into, in the early part of February, another opportunity to look at and really delve deeply into what else needs to be healed within me in terms of how I'm valuing myself and how I'm attracting the money, the resources, and all the goodies to myself. And love, how do I attract love to myself? So we have that happening. The other thing is that Mars and Mercury, so Mars, the planet that has to do with our work in the world, Mercury, how we communicate in the world, together in the sign of Capricorn. They're very, very effective in the sign of Capricorn. It's one of Mars's best signs because it just gets a lot done and gets it done very effectively and very efficiently. It also works very hard when Mars is in Capricorn. So we've got Mercury joining it. And what this brings us is potentially a really highly successful cycle for business and business endeavors, and also really conducive communication. So a lot of our success, whether we're in business or we have a private practice, or even if we have a job that we really value, a lot of the success in the world of commerce has to do with how well and how effectively we can communicate and how open we are to receiving communication. So whatever needs transformation or healing in that realm will come up, and that's fine. Again, just like Shatan was saying, you know, if you simply lean into it and don't resist it and say, okay, well, let me take a look at this. Let me see what needs to shift. Let me work with it. Then you just move through it with a lot more elegance, a lot more grace. And what you find is that then those opportunities that were always there, you know, the veil kind of parts and you can really see them clearly, and you've got the energy to engage with them clearly. So this is a really, really powerful aspect goes on through that first, all the first part of February, and an important one to getting our goals actualized in the world. So we're working with, you know, balancing our values with our spiritual inspiration. And that is the theme that's goes on for the first part of the entire year. We talked about that when we did our broadcast where we looked at the whole year of 2024, how the Jupiter and Taurus in this linking aspect with Saturn and Pisces is bringing us to this place of seeing how we can bring our spiritual principles, our higher inspiration, into very practical expression for our own fulfillment, and also to up-level everything that we give, everything that we provide for others. So that's the energy that I see that third quarter. If we can make that internal shift and hold that higher frequency, I think we could see ourselves in a great success cycle. Over to you.
All right. So as we get into February, very early on, the sun goes into gateway number 13. And this is the gateway of the listener. And I think I can say you were mentioning things around this realm, like being able to tune into what it is we're hearing and not just dismiss it, but actually to recognize, is this something that's significant for us or not? At the same time, Jupiter has moved on and it's gone on to gateway number 24. It's been in 27. So it's kind of this whole arena of nourishment. How are we nourishing ourselves? Are we, you know, have we changed a few bad habits perhaps? And it's moved on into gateway number 24. And at the same time, Mars has moved on into gateway number 61. And then Venus moves into gateway number 61. So we have this connection between the crown center and the mind center, the 61, the gateway of inner truth. And on the other end of the channel, Jupiter saying, okay, go with it. You know, you want to live a truthful life. And by the word truth, I mean a life that you are in tune with, right? There's a resonance. That's what truth is all about. It's a resonance. We know darn well when we're being told something that's resonant and truthful, or when we're being approached by something that just, yeah, that's it, that's the only way it can be, or when we're being told a story, you know, that somebody's giving us a snow job, they're telling us, you know, this, that, and the other, and it's like, no, this doesn't sound right at all. So as we enter into February, it's just this thing of tuning into our truth. When you look back over your life, you may be aware of the fact that nobody has ever really encouraged you to be yourself. And all these images that we have about ourselves are composites of, you know, school reports and neighbors' stories and, you know, friends bouncing off us and all kinds of different aspects that we've picked up to be able to describe ourselves in life. And we're literally in this time now, we're moving out of this age of where we can rely on that, rely on what we've been told. And we're moving into an age where we have to absolutely learn to trust ourselves. So I'm just going to say a couple of things, and I don't want to put anyone's nose out of joint or just, you know, bother you with things that go absolutely against what you've recognized for yourself. But when you look at the rules of the world, the rules really are made for people that can't work things out for themselves. Because when we're clear in ourselves, we're clear in our sovereign nature, we are living in this environment of love. And when we're living in that space of love, we're naturally responsible to ourselves and to whoever and whatever it is that comes our way.
And to our environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't actually, rules are kind of handy, red light means stop and that kind of stuff. But just really to consider this, if you need always to be consulting with a rule book, you may be constantly putting your life on somebody else's terms.
Well, that has to do with looking outside of yourself for your own guidance and your own truth, which is the opposite of what we teach with human design.
Right. So I'm just saying that, just to be absolutely clear, rules are for people that can't work things out themselves. And I'm also going to say the same thing about beliefs. A lot of this world, we've been persuaded, cajoled to believe things, believe things about people living thousands of years ago, and, goodness knows who was writing the records of what was going on then. So really, when you look at your beliefs, you'll see, again, you're subscribing to somebody else's way in which life is to be lived. And the moment you get outside of beliefs, or you get really clear about your beliefs, that they're actually beliefs that resonate with you, then all of a sudden you're on a track of life that is completely different. And you are honoring your own life, which is basically what we all came here to do. We only came here to be ourselves. So I'm saying this because we have this very strong input from Mars and Venus in these first few days of February, where we're going to get this download, and Jupiter is going to say, okay, this area of your life is being highlighted. What is truthful and what is not? And Jupiter is saying, look, really have a good look at this. It goes on for a couple of weeks into the month of February. And it brings us into that point in time where we have the new moon. And the new moon, it's on the 9th of the month. And the new moon at this time is in gateway number 49. And those of you familiar with gate 49 will know this is the gate in simplistic terms in the I Ching. It's called revolution. But when you really look deeply at gateway number 49, you'll see it's got at least 3 levels to it. The lowest level is rejection. Outright rejection, not going to have anything to do with it. Blanket no. Right? You don't belong, I'm not subscribing, not interested, go away. Then we have the revolution side of it, where, we take sides and we base these sides on principles. Our principle is this, your principle is that, and we're just going to fight. And it's like nobody's actually right, it's just principles fighting with each other. And so what we have the opportunity with this new moon is, having examined, okay, am I in tune with things that resonate with me, which I'm going to call the truth? Am I living a truthful presence here in life? The highest level of the 49 is to get rid of the rebel. The rebel. The rebel says, I see what's going on here, I don't buy it. Do whatever you like. I'm not your fan. I'm not going to go along with what you're recommending here. I have to live true to myself, regardless. I have to find my own people. I have to find my own aspects of life that I want to be involved in. And so that new moon is really, really highlighting that. It's in a second line. It's a very innocent line, if you will, of just saying, I'm not subscribing. And the line is called being firm, envisioning right outcomes for changes, right? So yeah, what's a right outcome? It's a resonant outcome. It's an outcome that comes from an inner truth, an inner sense of, this is how I play in life. This is what happens, what comes through me naturally. And just after the full moon, we have Mercury goes into gateway number 19. So we have this channel, the 1949, this whole examination of our sensitivity to what is really needed in our life and in the lives of the people and situations around us.
You meant just after the new moon.
Just after this new moon.
Yeah.
And so the 19 also has this magical quality of opening us up to the quest for unity. Right? So there's this kind of string of events in these next couple of 3 weeks where we're going to be guided to see, when we're equating with our own truth, we naturally find the pathway towards joining body and spirit together, to finding a natural, material, spiritual pathway. And to me, it's kind of a magical sequence of events, this. And I'm going to just say the key to it all is allowing yourself to be the rebel. Right? There's a whole bunch of stuff going on around us. We've been persuaded to be joining into all kinds of other people's thought streams and stuff. Politics. I look into the Aquarian age, politics, they're going to go back, all the politicians are going to go on the back page of the newspaper, if there are newspapers still. They're civil servants. They're going to go back to that standing. They're not these important people that, hold these ridiculous positions in life. They're civil servants. They're here to serve us. And you can say the same thing for a lot of the priesthood. They've been basking on ideas that they're intermediaries in some way or another.
And clergy in general.
Yeah, and that's all got to change. So again, the whole guidance now is let's be truthful to ourselves. Let's find that resonance and let's move on in that. And the whole energy of this first 3 weeks from today is all about that.
Yeah, the themes are so resonant between the design activations and the astrology. I feel like I'm sort of repeating what you're already saying, but let's take a look at the new moon on February 9th, the new moon in Aquarius, 20 degrees of Aquarius. And while the sun has been in Aquarius, this whole time we've been talking, the sun's been in Aquarius, essentially, we have this opportunity to experience the possibility of what the energy of Aquarius is, what it stands for. It's known as the sign of brotherhood, sisterhood. It's that place of balance between the self and the other. It's the sign of humanity. And it's important this year in particular because this is the year where we transition completely and irrevocably out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, which is going to last for a good 2,000 years. So we're just here at the really nascent beginning of the age of Aquarius. It's awakening, it's happening through us and within us. And here at this period of time, when in early February, when we have this new moon in Aquarius, we have an opportunity to really find that rebel within, that place of moving beyond what we have perceived as our limitations or what we think is okay for us to do. This new moon at 20 degrees Aquarius in an exact right angle with the planet Uranus, which is Aquarius's planet. It's the planet of awakening. It's the planet of revolution. It's the planet of revelation. So it's time now to really get clear on our vision moving forward and to know what those inspirations are, to trust the inspirations coming through us, to stop looking for everybody else to guide our lives or to tell us what to do, but to really know how to go within to access our own truth and our own inner guidance system, which is what human design is so brilliant at helping us to do. So the energies, the astrological energies all around this time are totally supporting that theme. We've got, as I said, the new moon in that right angle with Uranus. We also have the Jupiter-Saturn aspect that I talked about earlier that goes on for much of the early part of this year, which is showing us the possibility. What if we brought our values into alignment with our higher truth? What would happen then? What if we begin living that way and orchestrating our lives from there? Okay, so at this point of the new moon, planet Mercury, which is the planet that has to do with our way of thinking and expressing ourselves in the world, forms a right angle to that Jupiter point I was just talking about. So essentially what it's saying is clarification is needed. So where in our lives do we need to clarify our own values, our own beliefs? Where do we need to clarify anything within ourselves that has been living according to somebody else's agenda instead of according to our own inner truth? And this is essential work that we do this month, folks, because we can't move forward until we do it. We can't really fully step in to, first of all, the Aquarian age, but really more importantly, can't really fully step into our enlightened self until we clarify these things for ourselves, until we learn how to listen to and be attuned to our own truth. So we've got, high innovation going on. We've got healing of old patterns happening. We've got a great business cycle going on. All of our business and our work endeavors, we can really be highly, highly effective at this time. We've got a beautiful aspect with Venus and Mars interacting favorably with Neptune, which is this higher vision. So we're getting, insights, we're getting inspiration from spirit. This is one of the most highly creative cycles that we could be in. And the bonus is that it's grounded in creativity and in practical effectiveness. So it's not just high inspiration by itself, but it's also potentially there's this opportunity to ground that inspiration into actual practical action that is effective action. So that's what we're being called to at this time of the dawning of the age of Aquarius in this phenomenal year, this year of big leaps and bounds.
Light speed innovation.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the Swiss now have developed a private jet that runs on hydrogen and has a capacity of 1,100 miles range, it's like, great.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, finally.
Light speed innovation.
That's one of these many things that's coming up. That's one of the things that just fascinates me, moving out of the coal and the oil age and moving into something sensible. But anyway, that was my engineering background. So 14th, Valentine's Day, right? And I couldn't help but have my attention drawn to this. Pluto, it's been moved on into Aquarius, right? It's in gateway number 60 in the human design. And it's in the fourth line. It's in the latter part of the fourth line, which is basically saying limitations. What limitations? How do we hold ourselves back in life? And so, Pluto has literally been demolishing all kinds of, what can I say, holdups or blockages or senses I can't do this because of that. And on the 14th, on Valentine's Day, we got Venus and Mars and Pluto all in the same corner of the sky together. Venus, our, feminine side, Mars, our male side, and Pluto, you want to change something here? You want to get past any kind of limitations or any kind of holdups you've had about gender or about, your work in the world or who you're allowed to love or, all of that. So lovely Valentine's Day. Have a great one. The 15th, Mars, then, it's in a bit of a hurry. So it moves on into gateway number 41, which kind of echoes the new year we were talking about, or I was talking about at the beginning of this talk. And the 41, the start codon. And the sun at the same time in gateway number 30, the gateway of desires. So we have this channel, the 4130. It lasts from the 15th to the 19th. And the 4130 is kind of aiming our recognition to what it is that needs to get lived out on some level. We either live it out or we drop it, right? So those hankering desires, I got to do this, must do that. We either go for it or we just get to that point of, I'm done with it. I don't need to give any more juice here. I can just drop it. However, on the 17th, Neptune has been in gateway number 36, which is the follow-on 41, 30, 36, and then the throat center 35. The moon drops into the 35 for 10 hours. So from the 25th, on the 17th, we have this whole stream of energy. If you've got this desire that has not been lived out, it's hankering there and it's just bugging you, haven't done it, haven't fulfilled it, there's going to be, on the 17th, you're going to have the opportunity to see it through. Or, as I say, you're just going to drop the thing, no longer holding an interest for me. From there, the sun goes on to gateway number 55, the gateway of spirit. And in these days, the 19th onwards, it joins Saturn in gateway number 55. Saturn has been sitting in there. Saturn's doing its tour through all the emotional gates in this time, and it's just helping us, in a sense, to find out. You can't necessarily say that feelings are rational. They're not. They're not necessarily reasonable things at all. They're different. Feelings are part of our dramatic journey here in life. And Saturn in gateway number 55, the gateway of spirit, the gateway of abundance. And it's just really asking us, are you really plugged in here? 410, you got this life in a physical form, consciousness in physical form here, in the material plane. Are you engaging with it? The emotion center is a center of pleasure. Are we allowing ourselves to have pleasure, being here? Or is it just life is such a drag? So again, there's this huge encouragement to review. What am I doing here? Am I just determined to be miserable? And, there's a lot of pressure. Oh, it's all going wrong, da 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 da, how are we going to survive? And then you kind of have a good laugh about it and just say, this is ridiculous. These things I've been encouraged to pay attention to and feel freaked out about. And then we start seeing, my spirit is alive and well in here. And in this time, we're given that opportunity to really start seeing it's fine to engage with my feelings, with my emotions, and just to see, where are they trying to guide me? Where is my pleasure in this lifetime? And I'm not talking about licentiousness. I'm talking about real pleasure, the delight of being in love, because that is the nature of this universe here. And that is the nature of whatever is possible here, is to be in love. Can we access that? Can we make that not a habit, but can we just make that our daily connection here? I decide to be in love. And one of the signs I've come across lately, that really tells me if I'm living in a loving space or not, is, am I reacting or am I engaging? When a challenge comes, when something awkward comes, am I reacting? And an old habitual pattern, maybe a no, I'm not interested, da 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 da, you're bothering me, something's bothering me. Or am I engaging and just saying, I'm here and let's do something, or let's be available for this? So I'm going to stop chattering there and hand over to Carola and see what she sees in this first quarter moon.
Very powerful. So we're coming to this point now. I'm looking at February 16th for the first quarter moon, where we're just about wrapping up the sun going through the sign of Aquarius. So on February 18th, 19th, the sun leaves Aquarius and moves into the sign of Pisces, and that is going to take us on an entirely new journey for the next 30 days following February 18th, 19th. Before we get there, we have this first quarter moon. If you remember earlier in our broadcast, I was saying that the way the lunations work is we have a new moon, which is the beginning of a new cycle, the opening of new possibility. And that first quarter moon is the time when we really have the opportunity to grasp a hold of what this cycle is really about and begin actively working with it, actively engaging with it. So right at this first quarter moon, we've got, as you pointed out, we've got Venus, the planet of love and values and all the yummy things. We've got Mars, the planet of action and activity and sexuality and making things happen. And both of them together in tight conjunction with the planet of Pluto, which is transformation. So what are we transforming? Our inherent polarity, our way of seeing things in black and white, or either or good or bad, even in some ways male or female, because don't we all within us, doesn't every male have a feminine side? Doesn't every female have a masculine side? Don't we both have don't we all have access to all the possibility of humanity's expression? So Pluto is bringing us into and catalyzing this awareness just as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, this age of brotherhood, sisterhood. So we're going through some huge transformation of some of our beliefs around love and around money and around relationships. And allow that transformation to happen. Allow yourself to ask, what's really true? And, essentially what's really true for me in terms of love, in terms of relationship, in terms of my values and my truth. The planet Mercury at this first quarter moon in a right angle with Uranus, it's possible that we'll have some unexpected changes or unexpected sudden change of plans. You know how you're going along and you're going to take a trip in a few days, and you need to pack and you finish up your work and you leave the note for the dog sitter and da 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 da, and then it's all organized, right? And then something happens. And out of the blue, and you're like, whoa, I got to deal with this. And it's big and it takes up a lot of your time. Do you adapt Or do you freak out?
Or both.
Do you resist? Do you resist what shows up? Or do you adapt to what shows up? And say, you know, if it's in my life, it must be that I do have time and energy to include it. So it's this embracing of even the challenges that come up in life, as well as the opportunities. So we're completing this transit of Aquarius, moving into the sign of Pisces, where we're moving into a place of really cultivating a connection with our higher self, our inner spirit, if you will, and that divine aspect of ourself. Some beautiful aspects happening around this time. Chiron, that planet that helps us to link higher self and lower self, in a very favorable aspect with Mercury, helping us to develop the awareness of the power of our words, our thoughts as well, but the power of our words as creative instruments. What we think and what we speak is essentially what we're creating, and especially depending on how much energy we put behind it. So as we're moving into this very powerful catalytic time in early and into the middle of February, and even into the third week of February, we're potentially taking some really big leaps in our own consciousness, not just incremental changes that we're making, but big transformational leaps. And that is the gift of this time. That's the possibility of this time as we move into the sign of Pisces and into the last quarter period of time of the month of February.
So I'm going to pick up again here on around the 20th of the month, where Venus and Mars are doing a little dance together. You know, that they had this little dance with Pluto in the 60th gateway of just showing us, you know, why do we have these limitations? Why do we hold ourselves back? Why are we stuck in some kind of past agenda? Time to move on, time to move into the Aquarian perspective, as you would say, the brotherhood, sisterhood. So they're now in gateway number 41 together, and then we have Mercury opposite in gateway number 30. So we get this other new blast of what is it that is hankering there? What is it that wants to get lived out? Or what is it that you need to be so clear about that you can just drop it? This was a childhood thing. I don't need to do it anymore. Or this is a vision I've held all my life, and somehow or other I've never allowed myself to move on to it. And so this is the opportunity between the 20th and the 24th to have this experience, or at least set it in motion. So come the 24th, we have another full moon. And this time the full moon is in gateway number 59. Of course, the sun is in gateway number 55. It's been conjoining with Saturn, you know, and examining our acquaintance with spirit. You know, is spirit something that's just in a fairy story somewhere, or actually can we connect with it and just see, yeah, there's a consciousness, there's a spirit here involved in this life. So when we have this full moon, the moon is in gateway number 59, and it's in the 6th line. So all the line numbers in the 59 are all about interaction, all about, you know, how we connect with each other. What is the kind of spark that happens between us? And it's purely sexual in a way. It's like highly attractive. With the first line, it's like, you know, give or take. I'm either going to say hello or not. You know, I'm going to do anything I can to be involved with you, or I'm just going to avoid you completely. By the time we get to the 6th line, the 6th line is called being discerning. Now, I remember a time some years back when I was reading for, I would describe somebody as a society lady, and, you know, had a very particular image of herself, and she had in her design this 59 with the 6th line. And I was, you know, going through her reading with her, and I said, you know, when it comes to relationship, you're really picky. Dead stop for a moment. And she looks at me down her nose and says, the word is discerning. So here we are, we have a full moon where all of a sudden there's this whole flavor of discernment around who it is we want to have anything to do with. You know, we've been going along with all kinds of interactions, putting up with all kinds of bosses and, you know, people in our lives, landlords or whoever. you know, even putting up with our parents sometimes, you know, and it's just, there comes a point in time where we're just seeing how constructive and positive and how loving is this interaction. And the full moon's really going to shine a bright light on that. It's calling us to be really discerning. Within a matter of hours of the moon having that full moon in that area, the sun and Saturn drop into gateway number 37, which is the gateway of friendship and family. And so the full moon is saying, are you sure you still like all these connections? You know, are they still so vitally important for you? You know, are you going to carry these on into the Aquarian age? You know, a brotherhood, sisterhood, where, you know, we're working things out on our own truth. And so just we have the last bit of the month of February just really asking us, up until the leap year, the 29th, is just asking us, are you sure about your relationships? Are you sure about who's really important for you? I always have a kind of funny way of looking, because when you get the sun in the 37, you get the earth in the 40. So we all get this whole channel of community for 5 days. It's a channel of touch. It's a channel of familiarity. Like, who's allowed to touch whom? And through something like a handshake, can you tell, you know, are we making a clear bond here? Is there a clear connection here? So community is a very, very important thing. It's as much to do with our family and the people that live around us and the people we work or play with. But it's really an essential thing, like, who are the people that are absolutely in accord with me, who have this familiarity with me? And so I always have this little image around this channel. You know, if you're not in a position necessarily to touch or hug somebody all the time, in your mind's eye, do you see this person sitting at your dinner table? Would you invite them as a guest? Would you draw them into a close association with you, family, friends, around a table, breaking bread together and having that communal sense together? Could you see that person fitting in that place in your life? In other words, do they tell good stories? Do they crack good jokes? Do they bring a nice bottle of something for the dinner? Do they, you know, even perhaps prepare for the dinner? Do they sit up straight, you know, and they don't lean on everybody else on the table? And do they help you clear up afterwards? So, you know, I just put this image out to you as we come to the end of the month, because what follows on during this friendship and family week is the sun moves into the 37th line, and we enjoy this life theme that we call migration, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So the end of the merry month of February, whether it's the 29th or whatever, it's just this thing of, you know, maybe I'm done with this particular association. Maybe I have to be much more discerning in my life of where I'm going to place myself and my energies.
So I think we're moving towards wrapping up this broadcast. I want to say that we're going to be back with you again on Saturday, February 24th. Also on the 24th, we have a full moon. So just a little bit about that full moon from the astrological perspective, and then we'll pick up that conversation next time we're together. You know, the sun has moved out of Aquarius into the sign of Pisces, did that on the 18th, 19th. And so the context has changed for us for the next 30 days, out of the sense of, you know, blending our energies with others and finding ways to participate and where and how we belong, and going deep within our own truth and finding our place within the sisterhood and brotherhood that is here. To Pisces takes us deeper into our own connection with spirit, that essential divine aspect, that eternal aspect of ourself that is pure bliss, pure light, pure love. And take some time this February, and especially following and around this full moon, to feel into the beauty, the light, and the immense love of your spirit essence. We're living in an extraordinary time right now, this year, and especially with Pluto having moved into Aquarius, it's going to be there it moved in on January 21st, 22nd, and it goes all the way through August. in Aquarius. It's giving us this long experience in the year of what it's really like to step into this new Aquarian frequency. Then it'll dip back a little bit for almost 3 months into Capricorn for the final time, the last time, September, October, and November. Anything that we need to sort of clean up from the past, we'll do there. But essentially, we're moving on. We're moving into a new frequency. We're moving into a new possibility for humanity. It is the year of light speed innovation and deep and powerful transformation. And as long as we're being inspired from our own creativity, our own spirit's truth, we can trust our own inner guidance to lead us in every step of the way, in everything that we do, not just our work or our business, but in our friendships, our love life, and in what we do with our personal life, and how we take care of our health and how we take care of each other. So it's been, once again, a great pleasure to get to produce this overview look for you, and we'll be back with you again next month.
All right. Have a great month of February.
Many blessings.
Lots of fun.